Good afternoon, Jan.
Hi, Michael.
All right,
I
it's
was,
been a while.
yeah, I was not sure that it was still daylight saving time. So an hour ago I came in and just peeked.
Ah,
I said, okay, it's not yet for this week.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Also last week I had a doubt because on the session that you registered, you said that you would be away.
Hmm.
But I thought that's Wednesday evening, and I thought that you were not going, that you were following from distance. So I said, perhaps he's back. He's even back. So I came in last week, but it was like you announced it.
Yep, yep. Because in fact, yeah, that's correct. I was not at the code launch in Guadalajara, but I was on a road trip. So,
Okay.
um, so yeah, Jenny and I were enjoying a nice drive through New Mexico, and
Hmm?
went and saw the kids in Colorado. So had a great time.
Okay. And how went Code Lounge?
Yeah, pretty good. We did run into a couple of problems, and so working on fixes for those. But yeah, overall, I think it was a success.
Hmm?
Certainly many more attendees than were at uh, the Canada Code Launch in Toronto. Um, yeah, at that one, it was a smaller venue. They had over 250 people in
Hmm.
packed into a small venue, and we had really good participation at that one. Um, so it was close to 200 that actually participated with the app. Um, so that was really good to see. But
Good.
then, yeah, in Guadalajara, there were about 900 people
Okay.
at the event, and
Hmm.
um, and about 550 people used the app that I could see.
But the QR code was not working.
There
That
was
that fake one. That fake one from your video.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. There is yeah, I generated a proper QR code for the evening,
Mm.
and there was a glitch right at the beginning. So uh, so he shows the QR code on stage, and so everybody starts to sign in all at once, and so that creates a flood of requests to the server, and we did see a service unavailable message from the server for some of those people. So I'm investigating that to see if that was if there was some sort of problem in the identity provider or in the it probably wasn't the replicator because it hadn't gotten that far yet. Um, that ultimately caused that, but so far I'm not seeing anything that's really a smoking gun there. So it's likely that that we just didn't have the scalability of the Linode service turned up enough for that many people using the system all at the same time.
Okay. And the rest were language problems, or was it on the Jinaga side, or?
Actually, yeah. So leading up to the event, we did some testing and
Mm.
found some issues in Jinaga. So that was it was really good that we did that additional testing and we found those. Um, and so I was able to get those fixed while I was on the road trip. Get those um, get those uh, uploaded, and then that completely solved the Janaga problems. So the problem that we found this time. Um, so last time we found a race condition, uh,
Hmm.
and so the API for Janaga should not allow race conditions. However, yeah, there was a yeah, there's there's some work that I need to do on the core library in order to resolve these race conditions. And I think we talked about some of the causes already, but I fix them by putting in workarounds. So, ensure that this fact is created and sent to the replicator before we start this, this specification. So we've resolved those. Then this time around, it had to do with subscriptions. So the effect was very similar to the race condition. But with the race condition, when you tried to begin a subscription before it knew that you were authorized to do so, then it gave you an error, and then the subscription did not take, and so you were just looking at the screen, and it didn't update when people updated the backend state. But this time, it did that for a different reason, and that was because when establishing the socket connection, the client library was not exercising retries at the right point. So after the socket connection had been established, then it was being resilient and reestablishing that connection periodically to make sure that everything was good. But the very first time, it didn't do anything like that, and it threw the exception back into the application. And so when I found that, and so during our tests, most of the time people would get updates, but then every once in a while they would get stuck. And so you would advance to, okay, we're opening the lightning round, and then they wouldn't see the lightning round open. And so I added that resiliency to the Jinaga client library, and then pushed that out. We ran the test. It was solid. So it's like, okay, that problem is solved. So that was a big improvement. I'm still looking forward to finishing up the WebSockets implementation, so that I've got bidirectional communication during. I can rate one connection, do bidirectional communication, and have the keep alives going in that single communication, in that single connection, so I don't have to reestablish one in order to do a keep alive. So it's that's going to be a huge improvement, but still I want the service end events to be a fallback, and so now that service end events are rock solid, then it makes a good fallback. So that's good stuff.
I saw in your previous videos that you went back to VS Code with Kilo Code now.
Yes. Yeah.
So does that mean that you left cursor completely, or?
For the core application, or the core library development, yes. So the feature in Kilo Code, which came from root code, that absolutely just makes it the best solution is
roles that you have.
Yeah, being able to define those roles, and even more the orchestrator role, which breaks down a problem and then delegates to different roles. In root code, they call that boomerang tasks. But that task delegation, that true agentic system, that really makes a huge difference. So I'm able to create a specification for a really complex feature, and then give that to the orchestrator, and then it delegates to ask in order to figure out what's the current state of the system and how does this work in. Then it delegates to architect in order to design how we're going to integrate it, and then it delegates to a custom mode that I created for TDD tests. So it delegates to TDD test writer and writes the failing tests, and then it comes back and delegates to the TDD coder, and then to the refactor, and then and so I can watch it do this work, and and observe when it gets off the rails and when I need to correct. And I'm finding that with this feature, I really don't have to correct too much. If I see that it's getting off the rails, it's probably because my specification was faulty in some way, and so I can see the effect of what's happening, and then say, okay, wait, stop. I'm not going to try to correct you in line here because there's already some confusing stuff in context. I'll just dump that context, fix my specification, to be a bit more specific in that area, or maybe it was just factually incorrect. I said I want you to implement this feature by overadding that interface, but it turns out okay that approach won't work. So create a different abstraction. Make it look like this. Rewrite the specification and then start it over again. And I have been practicing with Cursor at my client. So so that's the tool that they have settled on, and there are actually some really cool Cursor features that just landed. So maybe we can practice with those too. But yeah, I'm finding that I have to do a lot more babysitting with Cursor, and I have to work in smaller increments. So, but yeah, this new plan feature makes it a little bit better, but yeah, it's not quite the same as delegating to new modes.
And then in kilocode, because if I remember well, in the video you are using your entropic key, because for the difficult development you prefer Claude Sonnet. Yeah?
Yes.
But then you enter your entropic API, and then how can you use the other models?
Yeah. In the past, I had used the entropic API key directly, and that was mostly because Rue code doesn't have any kind of a backend. So Rue code, you just say bring your own key, and then you have to subscribe to multiple in order to have multiple keys, and then you could switch. But with kilocode, they do have a backend, and so that backend lets you pay one bill and then switch among different models. So yeah, that's that it's because I switched to kilocode that I was able to do that.
Okay, so in kilocode you just have to take a subscription from kilocode themselves.
Yes.
And they handle, and it's therefore that you see your consumption immediately per model.
Yes. With one small correction there is that it's not a subscription, and this is another wonderful feature of kilocode. Whereas in Cursor, $20 a month, and so whether no matter how much you use it, it's the same. With kilocode, it is you're still you're paying for tokens, but you're paying kilocode for those tokens, and then they get those tokens from different models. So yeah, it's still it's the model that if you use it a lot, you're going to pay more, but if you use it less, you're going to pay less. Yeah, I prefer that model because there are going to be times that I'm not using it a lot, and it'd be nice to just pay for what I use. But yeah, to be quite honest, I do actually use it a bit more than the average developer, and so I do end up spending more on that than I do my Cursor subscription. But with the Cursor subscription, you get a certain number of premium requests at $20 a month, and then they start charging you over that. It's the automatic requests where they get to choose the model for you that you can get unlimited under that $20 subscription. And I found that for really simple tasks, auto works fine. Um,
Mhm.
and so when I am using cursor, I'm mostly staying in auto, and I'm just keeping it nice and simple. And then when I find that auto doesn't really get it, get it right, then I will switch to where I select the model in cursor, and then I'll select Sonnet most of the time. Um, but yeah, and then okay, if I want something actually to work, right, that's going to be a premium request. But if I want it to be fast and simple,
Mhm.
then keep it on auto. Auto is faster because
Okay.
it tends to choose lighter weight models and then escalate only when it needs to.
Mhm. No, because I was really looking some more. I didn't do anything on DWS all this time. And I was looking a little bit more in your videos for the artificial intelligence. And on top, I had a friend of mine who is a medical student. It's a young guy. He's
Uh-huh.
still a student, medical student. He doesn't know. I'm not going to say he doesn't anything. He knows a little bit about programming. He's interested in everything.
Uh-huh.
And in the past, from time to time, he came and see me, Jan, how do you do that? How do you do that? And he tried to program. And he's a clever guy. He arrives at making things.
Mm-hmm.
But now he said there was an application. It was about first aid posts on, for example, on festivals
Mm-hmm.
to keep track in the comment post of the number of victims you have in every first aid station
Mm.
and of the number of first aid persons available. And there was a system which was based on what was it on Google Sheets, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that in every first aid station there was a computer with a Google Sheet, and so these can communicate,
Yeah.
and so automatically you have a central view. But then he said the problem with that was that the Wi-Fi
Mm-hmm.
connections, when there were a lot of people on the festival, they were not working well, and so the system broke down from time to time.
Yeah.
So he told me, I'm gonna make something that synchronizes automatically. When I hear the word synchronizing, I say, I told him, I said, no, that's not gonna work. And 2 weeks later, he came back to me. He said, Jan, it's finished.
That's awesome.
That cannot be. That cannot be.
Uh-huh.
So I said, okay, demonstration. Actually, it was not synchronization. What he had in mind was instead of using Google as a central server, he used one of the computers
Ah.
as a node server.
Yeah.
So everything is local. You don't need internet, and it stays on the local network.
Mm-hmm.
But what he managed in that, it was really amazing. It had there were still a little bit bugs. It had a nice user interface. The functionality was working. Uh, it looked great. So I asked him, how did you do that? He said, well, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Wow.
Yeah. Now he had a key from another friend, so he had what was it, version 4 or 5, the latest version. Um, but he managed to keep it on track. Even the user interface, um, if he wanted to have a logo,
Uh-huh.
so in the end, ChatGPT created a logo for him, and he showed me going through iterations. Um, he even went further. He said, "No, I'm wondering if I can sell that software." So then the next question was, "Oh, what are the competitors?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to sell it, what would be the right pricing?
Uh-huh.
Um, what would be potential customers?" Uh, he made a nice brochure for the software,
Oh, wow.
everything. Yeah. So if you see the possibilities,
Uh-huh.
then they say, Jan, you're light years behind.
Wow.
If that guy,
Yeah.
he's clever, but he's not in informatics. He's in
Hmm.
medical. If he can do that in this time, then what am I doing?
That's yeah.
Yeah,
That is an inspiration. I love
yeah.
I love that the tools are there that we can do that. Now
Mm,
yeah, yeah, caution, and I'm sure that you've already given him this caution that there are probably some really first of all, synchronization, really hard problem. The
mm,
LLMs can't just solve it. Um,
mm.
yeah, it's still
Yeah, but just in his
yeah
case, it was just a
yeah
node server. So the whole thing was written in JavaScript,
uh-huh
but he didn't really know JavaScript. Um, but I asked him, I
yeah
say, which technology are you using? He said, I don't really know. So I looked into it and I said,
uh-huh
okay,
nice
it's not
nice.
running.
Yeah,
Um,
but then also there may be some other hidden defects. Uh,
mm,
yeah, uh, LLMs without the proper guidance and direction,
mm,
they do sometimes introduce security errors. They could be used to find security errors, but if you don't know how to ask, then they might introduce them.
mm,
Um, so so yeah, with all those cautions, this is this is an awesome and inspirational story. If he wants synchronization to be a feature, like it was with the Google Sheets uh,
mm,
solution, then yeah, it is going to take some additional work. Um, but yeah, the fact that he was able to get from an idea to implementation,
mm.
that that is incredible. That's the world that that I've wanted to
Yeah,
be
because
in for a long time.
if I see you do it, I'm not surprised
Hmm.
because you were really on the top and you are uh, in it all day, and you are the leading one in and improving. Um, but okay, the result is not the same,
Hmm.
absolutely not. But when I saw what he achieved, which probably full of still a lot of bugs, security issues, we even don't talk about it.
Hmm.
But for somebody who's not in informatics to achieve something that works,
Yeah.
or that gives that impression at least,
Uh-huh.
um, so that's quite amazing. And the steps of going further, okay, make me a business plan.
Uh-huh.
What should be a correct price? Then you say this is incredible. Um,
That is awesome.
so I think I really have to catch up
Hmm. Yeah.
in in AI.
Yeah.
So
I do agree. That's that is a good takeaway. Yeah.
mm,
Uh, you do have the skills, and so yeah, once you pick up the AI skills that he demonstrated, then yeah,
yeah,
it's just gonna take off.
yeah, because if I see in your was it in one of your latest videos where you say, okay, now we go for user interface.
Hmm.
Um, you make the user interface. After that, you already have your model, and then you go for your view model, and it does so much work for you, but you still have to know what is going on. Where do
Yeah.
I want to go? Um,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
it's
And so for his project, yeah, you could do that in a different order. So I did model and then view model. You could do view first and then model and then view model. I always do want to put the view model in last because that way it's the most constrained. Um, and otherwise, it's got too many degrees of freedom. It just can generate anything at once, and then okay, now let's try to make a view that conforms to this thing that I generated. And it's like, nope, it's not quite the right thing. But yeah, so he's got a user interface that solves this problem. So so yeah, yeah, one great next step, if, like for example, if you wanted synchronization to be in there, then we could analyze the problem domain using the solution that he already built. In fact, using the database that he built now, because it's got a node backend presumably with the database, and then derive design a Jinaga model based on that, on what it needs to accomplish. So that part, I still like to do that by hand, even though I do have a Jinaga modeler and I say go and do things. I kind of like to do it myself. But yeah, that part is really small, and then generate a view model for exactly that view. Touch that view as little as possible, and work against this model, and then generate a bunch of tests so you can create the authorization rules and the distribution rules to pass those tests, and then he'll have a good solid backend with synchronization, and it'll still do exactly what he wants on the front end. And then during that process of modeling, just as we saw with DWS, the things that would cause problems in a distributed system become visible during that modeling process. It's like, okay, if we can't model it so that there's one and only one answer here. That would require taking a lock, and that would be expensive. And so that
because
I would love to see that.
I was thinking one of the last things I was having difficulties with was the user interface, where we said, okay, we need to keep track also of history.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't asked ChatGPT yet what what he proposes,
Uh-huh.
or she proposes, or it proposes.
Yeah, I prefer it. I don't want to treat it as a person. Yeah.
But it might come up with some good ideas. And then by combining these ideas and refining,
I suspect it'll come up with event sourcing. There seems to be enough event sourcing in the source model, or in the source material, that it does tend toward event source solutions. Especially if I'm asking it to do a historical model, it'll do instead an event source model and say, no, we've got different rules over here.
Yeah, but the user interface, if I'm asking, I need a user interface where I can, how to represent, for example, the history in a normal interface.
I see what you mean, yeah.
Because once I have that user interface, then make the link with the model. So in fact, the view model, that would be the next step then. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that. In your videos, you also had a kind of knowledge base.
Oh yeah.
For historical modeling, as guidelines for the artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Did you put them into GitHub? Because I didn't see them there.
Not yet. They are part of the Launch Kings code base right now. So that's just in our private repo for Launch Kings. They're still a bit too verbose. There's too much information, too much redundancy in there. I really want to get it, boiled down, and I want to see the behavior of those rules improve. It's still, even with that knowledge base, makes assumptions based on the way that it's used to programming. So it'll it sees, for example, the query or the specification syntax in JavaScript. So dot not exists, and then and it sees lots of examples of that, and then says, okay, I'm going to write my own specification, and then it puts .where in there, and it's not, .where is not part of the specification syntax, because there are only two conditions, and they're both existential. It's just not exist or exist. That's it. and so it does that, and then it compiles, and then it says, "Oh, I made a mistake," and fixes it. And then I'll say, "Well, how should we change the rule set in order to prevent you from doing that?" And I said, "Well, it says right here that I shouldn't do that." So yeah, we already did that. It's already in the rule set. So maybe shrinking it down will make it more focused. I have tried putting capital letters. That's one of the hacks. If you asterisk must capital letters, then it kind of elevates that importance. And so you can see when you're looking at the thinking mode, it's scrolling through and it says, "Oh, but he says that I must not." Like in this case, I'm thinking about, I told it to write some unit tests. And you must not change the code under test while doing this. And so I said, "Oh, I must not change the code under test." And so that's stated as one of its primary directives through its thinking process. But yeah, even with those tricks, it's still getting out of that mode and trying to write these as if they were SQL statements. So yeah, once I really get it boiled down to the point where it's a lot more reliable for me, then I want to package them up as an MCP server. So with Model Context Protocol, you can install tools, and I'll definitely be using tools for some things, but the context is also a big part of MCP, and so I could ship just an MCP server of context. This is the MCP server that explains how to create Jinaga applications. And then they'll say, "Hey, I'm working on the model. I'm in TypeScript." And they say, "Okay, here's the context just for when you're doing that," and then give it back that markdown. And I also want to experiment with JSON. I've been hearing that JSON context is actually being more structured is more effective than even markdown context. So see if I can take these rules and have it encode them as JSON, and if it follows these rules better that way. But yeah, want to run these experiments, then publish it as an MCP server, and then I will deliver the MCP server as part of Factual Studio, the Visual Studio Code plugin.
Okay.
So that's the way I want it to ship.
Factual Studio becomes a plugin for VS Code.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then no matter what tool you're using, if you're using GitHub Copilot, or if you're using KiloCode, or whatever you're using, even if you install that Visual Studio plugin in Cursor, because it's based on Visual Studio, then Cursor should be able to access the MCP server. So bring your own tool, but then here's context specifically for building Jinaga applications.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, and then there's one other way that I can deliver this. There's an MCP server called Context7, which basically searches the web for instructions on how to use open source projects. I think it might not be limited to open source, but yeah, any package that you've brought into your application. So it searches the web to find the instructions, brings those instructions in, and then it can serve them up locally as the LLM asks for them. So yeah, if you're I'm using mass transit at work, and so I've got Context7, and now when we're working on mass transit stuff, I see it access Context7 to get answers about how to do mass transit. So yeah, there's some formats that Context7 is looking for. So they published, hey, if you put this kind of file on your website, then Context7 can recognize, okay, this is how to peruse the documentation. Otherwise, it'll just use the regular HTML navigation system. But this tells it specifically, this is code documentation. So yeah, another way that I can deliver this content is to put it up on Jinaga.com with one of these files, and then say, hey, use Context7 to access this. give you all those options.
Okay. And so the samples still need to be translated to C# then.
Yes,
Because for the
yes,
moment they
yeah,
were in JavaScript.
yeah. These are just JavaScript examples. Yep, yep. And the guidance will be very different. Yeah. Overall, I'd still direct you to, when you're working on models, just think about the model. Don't think about authorization rules, distribution rules, specifications. Have those be different modes. But yeah, once you're into that mode, then yeah, that's going to look very different in the two different languages.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I can show off a little bit of the cursor plan mode feature, which is that brand new mode in cursor, and yeah, this brings cursor a little bit closer to what I get with Kilo code. So so I use this extensively on my client work. So let me pull that over here, and there's that. And then I will also make sure that I share it on Zoom. And share that screen. Okay. There you go. So yeah, you should be seeing cursor.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got this this new pop-up here because I just updated cursor while we were talking. And so, hey, now available, try plan mode. Researches your code base, creates a detailed plan, and then build exactly to spec. There is another tool that I've tried called Kiro, not Kilo, but Kiro with an R. And basically this spec-driven approach is baked into Kiro, but in such a way that that it seemed to kind of take over, and I want to have more control over myself. But this seems to be just the right level of integration. So let's try plan mode. Okay, so yeah, we're in GameHub. Let's see if we can come up with a plan that we want to work on. So over here, you've got your agents, ask. Those were the two most common modes that I would flip between. Background, that one's really cool because you can basically run a session on Cursor's server, and that basically switches it into YOLO mode, so it just keeps on going. It doesn't ask for your permission, but it keeps going on their server, and then when it's done, sends you a pull request. I found that to be of limited value because there's no human in the loop when you do that, and it gets off the rails and it sends you this junky PR. But when given small enough tasks, it seems to be okay. But yeah, here's the brand new one, plan. So what I want to do, first of all, I'll go into ask mode, and we are going to, I want it to basically load up its context with the the information that's already here in GameHub. So what game can you play on GameHub? Because actually I haven't looked at this source code in a while, and I don't know if this has already got the checker drop stuff, or if this is still on tic-tac-toe. So it's going to look through that, and while it does, I will take a look at, here's GameHub player, here's my source, and so pages, here's my game page, and yeah, so we've got tic-tac-toe. There it is. So it said, hey, you can play tic-tac-toe.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So now I want to give it a problem, not a terribly difficult problem, but something that would be that it would have a good chance of solving. And while I'm doing this, I'm also checking to see if I've got if I can rearrange things so that the people on the stream can see me typing. But looks like I need to do something real quick. There we go. Okay, I'm going to rearrange some screens. And okay, so with that, now I've moved our faces out of the way of this this ask bar right here. Okay. So, all right, I want to give it something nice and simple that it could probably like. Okay, here's a good one. The AI player. It makes random moves. So what if we wanted an AI player that made good moves? So first of all, told it to tell me how the AI player works. So it should be able to look all that up. I will see in here things like here's use game. Somewhere in here I've got something that starts up an AI player. It might find it before I do. I'm pretty sure that's a custom hook. Okay, here it is. Background service. Player session. That's not right. Okay. Move strategy, no intelligence. Yep. Make random moves. Okay, so the make simulated move function. Where did you find that? Automatic use player session. Use player session. There it is. Okay. Now we've got a little bit better picture of. Here's my make simulated move. Okay. So now that it's kind of got the context of where all this stuff is in the code, and it's got much more precise detail than I could give it, then I will switch to plan. Notice that background is no longer available because I've already started using this session. So if you want to do a background task, then you have to start it off. You might actually be able to just do a plan and then send it to the background. I don't know. I'll play around with that. But so design an AI that plays tic-tac-toe well. So very simple. So it's already got context. It already has a goal because that's built into plan. So its goal is to generate a plan. And so now I'm just giving it a goal, a very simple and direct goal, without giving it too much extra information. Then, perfect, yep. Then it stops and asks some clarifying questions. This is what I really love about their plan mode. They did this well. So you might have seen the GitHub or the cursor rules that I did in order to create plans and to use them. My rules don't tell it to stop and ask clarifying questions, but yeah, they put that in there. So theirs are working really well. So Before I create my plan for an intelligent tic-tac-toe AI, I need to clarify a few things. What difficulty level? So yeah, let's make this strong but beatable. So I'm going to paste that in because I like to use the same words so that it can index back into what it just said. If I paraphrase, as I would when I'm just talking to a regular person, then it'd say, well, you said this, but maybe he means that, and it would have to figure it out, and sometimes that introduces some confusion. So should the strategy be configurable or always use the best approach? So here I will be a bit more specific. Always use the strong but beatable strategy. And I did that because if I had copied always use the best strategy, it might get confused with, well, best strategy is unbeatable. So it's like, no, precisely. And where should the AI logic be implemented? So replace the current logic. It does not have an option for creating unit tests, but I want that to be part of the plan. So design the plan in a test-driven manner. Create one test at a time. Run the test and make sure that it fails for the right reason. Then fix the test before moving on to the next test. Okay, so I've answered its questions. That gave me a little bit time to do something a little bit better. Also, this whole time I've been in auto, so it cursor is automatically going to select the most appropriate model. So if I had seen it struggling with this problem, then I would have switched it to a stronger model. But because it's on auto, it tends to choose a cheap and fast model, and so this is completing a lot faster than if I'd switched to Claude Sonnet. So then our job is to read specifications. So replace this with an AI that pays well but is beatable. So it'll win immediately. It'll block an opponent's win. It'll create a forking opportunity and block an opponent's fork. Oh, and here it's got probabilities. So that's pretty clever. So these are things that are that a human might miss. These are things that a human probably wouldn't miss. So make those 100%. So yeah, it's got a probability of taking the center, probability of taking a corner. Interesting. So if I remember correctly, a corner move, if you open with a corner move, then your opponent can force a win. I might have that backwards. But yeah, anyway. So it might actually, with a 40% chance. Yeah. So yeah, it would really be with a 20% chance. It would at the opening give you a win. All right. So select the best move, find winning move, find blocking move. So these are nice little utility functions. So create comprehensive tests following the TDD approach, and then it's broken down by tests. AI takes a winning move. AI blocks the opponent's. Yeah, these are nice tests. Okay. And so it's unit testing each of these different helper functions, and then it's going to put them all together in phase 2. That's nice. And then we do integration testing, I don't know if we really need to do integration testing. Yeah, for this demonstration, I will tell it to take out the integration testing. And in fact, manual testing and refinement is not something that it could do. It's going to be for me. So remove phases 3 and 4. So you always go back and forth on the plan. And there we go. So regenerating the plan, but this time without phases 3 and 4. And there it's got a nice little, oh, still working on it. There we go. And it's got a nice little checklist of things that it needs to do. So we have a plan, and I am happy with this plan. So now with my typical approach, I would have done this using a cursor rule that gives it instructions on how to create plans and where to write them as a markdown file in a certain folder. So this one basically has all that built in the way that they like to do plans, and it does a really good job. And you could push this button right here to save the plan to the workspace. So it takes this markdown file and actually saves it to the .cursor/plans folder. But in this case, I'm not going to save the plan because I think that it will be successful with this guidance. And so instead I will just hit the build plan button. I can hit it here or here. Build plan is always going to start working on the plan in this session, which has already used up 65% of its context window. So that's one thing that I would like to see if I can do something a little bit better. But yeah, so because it's already used up so much of its context window, it probably will need to compress its context before it's finished.
Opening a new one.
Yeah, the way that compression works is that it doesn't open a new one. Instead, you'll see it says compressing context, and then you see this percentage goes down. Basically, it asks the LLM to summarize everything in the history. And then it dumps history, and it just has the summary. And so that shrinks the context. Now, I have experimented with saving this markdown file, and then myself opening a new one, pointing at that markdown file and saying, work on this plan. And then it had so much detail that's missing from here. Like here we can see it knows what function to replace, but it doesn't actually say where that function is. That information is in this history here. So if it has all of this context, then it doesn't need that detail. But yeah, when I brought this markdown file into a brand new session, and I said, well, I need to go find that, and so it did a whole bunch of searching, and then I said, okay, now I have a clear idea of what to do, and then it got started. So that's why I think they have it build the plan inside of the same session as the one that created the plan. So what's going on here is a little bit of a UI, I think, an error. There's no way to collapse this this part of the window. It actually is doing some more stuff, and we could watch it do that other stuff below here. I'm going to try to shrink this down. Okay, now we can see that work that's happening here. But yeah, I really would like this to just shrink down, and I can watch it do what it's going to do here. So yeah, it's running the tic-tac-toe AI tests. We can actually take a look at, here are the tests. So it should take a winning move when available. So here's my board state, and then select the best move, and it should return 2. Yeah, I should return -1 if there are no moves available. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I would also want select best move. Well, that's just select best move. That's not specifically the try to win. Okay, find winning move. There we go. Find winning move. So I want to make sure that it, if there is no winning move, that it reports that as such. It's just doing all sorts of scenarios. Here. Okay, yeah, when no winning move exists. Find a winning move for X. Well, there is a winning move there too, actually. Okay, so it's going to have to fix that test. I wonder if it's going to be able to fix that test. That'll be interesting. This, by the way, when you take a look at just random tic-tac-toe games online, you always see this alternating XOX, OXO, XOX pattern, which it's an impossible game. You couldn't actually win twice, but it just seems to be such a common thing. Oh, okay, if I want to avoid wins, I'll just alternate. And so, yeah, it looks like it made the same mistake as, oh, there's no win in this situation. No, there are two. Okay, well, it's stuck on seeing if the first test passes. So I'm going to hit this little button to open in the terminal. Boom. So here's my little terminal window. So I need to scoot our faces back over here so we can see the terminal. Okay, so we can see that we got no test specified on the terminal, but it hasn't done anything about that. So I'm going to hit enter a couple of times and see if that wakes it up over here. It didn't wake it up over here. Sometimes that does. Sometimes it's just that it's buffering the output and it can't see the output in real time. But yeah, this time it's hung. It doesn't realize that it actually finished. So I'm going to hit cancel. And then it should come back and say, oh, wait a minute, something went wrong. Okay, so this time we got a different output. It issued a Control C right there. Interesting. And now it sees that things terminated. So, yeah. Terminal integration still a little bit rusty. Oh, the test board has X positions in 0, 2, 4, and O positions in 1, 3, and 5. This is this one. My algorithm incorrectly finding position 8 as a winning move. It's not incorrect. It actually is a winning move. This is funny. So yeah, it's going based on the assumption that this is a correct test and seeing if it can fix the algorithm. And so now it's asking me if I want to run this. So it's going to run this node command. So given this exact code, boom, want you to check the diagonal. And it came back with diagonal 048. Let's see. Not sure what it's trying to do. Is it trying to figure out if that's already a win? Yeah, this is going off the rails. So let's switch from auto. I really should make these two separate scenes. So let's switch from auto right here. Boom. Turn that off and select Claude. All right, when you really want it to work, run Claude. So, yeah, I'll hit run, and I think it takes this into account immediately. Yeah, because run just executed it. There was no LLM for that. And now that it's interpreting it, it should be using Claude. And if it needs just a little bit of help, this might be a time for me to tell it that it's got it wrong. So the diagonal has XX null, which is 2 X's and 1 empty, so my algorithm thinks position 8 is a winning move, but that's wrong because there's an O in position 135, which would block the winning attempt. No, that's not true. So I'm going to stop it. Oh, wait a minute. I stopped it too soon. It actually got there. I think the test is actually wrong. In this board position, X does have a winning move at position 8, completing the diagonal. Let me fix the test. So I stopped it too soon, so I will tell it to continue. But there we go. So yeah, sometimes just switching to a smarter model is what it takes. And usually it's because of a code problem. This time it's because, the fast models can't play tic-tac-toe. Okay. Yeah, there's another really useful feature here. You can see that it is set to use allow list. There's also ask every time and run everything. Run everything, also called YOLO mode. So I would recommend keep it on use allow list, and then when it comes up with a command that it wants to run, it will ask you if you want to run it. And here we can add npm test and tail to the allow list. So once I do that, then anytime it constructs a command out of those two subcommands, it'll just automatically do that. So that I'm not certain why it wanted the tail, but apparently it got what it was looking for, and it's implementing the remaining functions. So we've got more changes happening in tic-tac-toe AI. So let's go there and see what's going on. So select best move, find winning move. Okay, so select best move is first of all going to try to find the winning move, then find blocking moves, then find fork moves. And then with a 60% chance, find center move. I'm guessing center move is just, is it available? Pick it, otherwise null. Okay, so null means I don't know, or I can't follow this rule. Yeah, and then find random move, or return a -1 if the board is full. So yeah, we got the -1 case. Yeah. Okay, so here we want npm test and grep. Sure, that's a fine combination to have. Okay, so let's get back to this and see if it's, let's see, npm test and grep. I thought I clicked that. Okay. All right, so now we've got a test failure. Let's see what's going on there. Expected 8 to be null. Okay, and now it's trying to run the tests again, but report verbose and just grep for pass or fail. Don't know why it doesn't have that information already. I don't see that. Oh, okay. No, that is the one that finished. So enter, 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 Control C. Okay. Just making sure. I'm clicking that button again just to see if it opens a different terminal, but that's the terminal. All right, cancel. So let me try a simpler command. That's not simpler. You've added head to the list. Okay, so now it sees only that something failed. It's still not seeing the output. So just run the tests. One of them is failing. And I will put that into the queue. So when you send something while it's still working on something, then it gets queued. So then when I cancel that, that pops in there. And it immediately sees that before it continues. So just run the tests. Boom. Okay, nothing fancy. Okay, so here I think we are going to have to give it a little bit more guidance because this terminal integration is not quite working. So we currently have a cursor terminal. I'm going to add a regular bash terminal. And in here, I will do my npm test. So I'm going to go to app, GameHub, player, and then npm test. Okay, so there I've got my test results. Now you can see that it highlights this whole thing in red. I can add that entire thing to the context. So that is now part of the context, and you can see right here that this is the terminal selection. So now I'm going to say, and I run the tests. This is the output. Queue that up and cancel that. So we have to play man in the middle here. When I want a human in the loop, this is not exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, so it updated the board to one that still has a winning position. So what's it going to do this time? Okay, it looks like it saw that it finished this time. Good. So what tests did it come up with? Right here. So it pretty much filled up the board, says, no, you can only go here, and that's not a winning move. Good. Okay. Yeah, so actually right here we can see something that is different between kilocode and cursor. When cursor is was consuming those thinking tokens, it just shows you these dots. But in kilocode you have thinking, and you can click on it, and then it'll open it up, and you can see all the thinking tokens scrolling past. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of self-talk. And it's like, well, wait a minute, that's not going to work. Let me try something different. Oh, wait a minute, no, I should go back to this. Oh, gets all confused, and then it says, oh, okay, finally this is what I need to do. And then when it's done thinking, it just tells you what it concluded. But yeah, it needs to think about this for a long time. I wonder why. If I look at the results, the tests passed. So yeah, all 19 of the AI tests are passing. I'm not sure what it is thinking about. Meanwhile, let's go back to the plan and see what it's done here. So we can see that it marked off 2 of the to-dos. We can also see to-dos over here. it's currently working on right and pass tests. AI blocks opponent's winning move. So it might be trying to reason through board positions that have a winning move that X can block. So maybe it's a good idea that to keep it in Claude Sonnet for this. With a faster model, it would have certainly come back by now, but it might have come back with some bad board positions.
And here we have a chance for a good solution.
Yep. All right. Well, yeah, unfortunately, we are quite a bit over time. Goodness, this has flown by.
Time flies.
Yep. So, yeah, that is plans, and so I found that this works a lot better than just giving it a task in agent mode and seeing what happens. And it doesn't work quite as well. Oh goodness, it marked off a whole bunch of things all at once, but it doesn't still work quite as well as kilocode. So so yeah, I still prefer kilocode for the Jinaga runtime itself because there's some really complex reasoning in there. But then for applications that use Jinaga, I'm trying to use Cursor for those. For these latest Launch Kings changes, I've been using kilocode because I need this done quickly and right. But yeah, when I'm not in crunch mode, I'll even work on Launch Kings using Cursor because I want an application developer to be able to use whatever tool they're comfortable with and not have to use the absolute best tool in order to get good results out of Jinaga. So yeah, hopefully one day soon that will be the case and it won't get confused and think that I'm talking about event sourcing and I'm talking about SQL and I'm talking about an entity framework.
Well, the more historical modeling it sees, the better it will become.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that this is going to... Oh, and it put X's. That was nice. I just noticed that it had integration tests on here, but it put X's on those. So apparently it didn't take those out of the to-dos, but it took them out of the plan. It says, oh wait, those aren't part of the plan. So yeah, now we should have... You know what? I am going to take just a little bit more time to run this and see if we can play a quick game against this new AI player. Okay, so we've got a simulated player. So I want to start a playground. Leroy Jenkins, that's you. And then Naru joins and issues a challenge. I'll respond and accept that challenge. And now we've got an active game. Let's go to that game. So Nauru has chosen the corner first. So if I remember correctly, I can force a win by going into the center. Okay, so now I'm going to block. It should block me. Good. Actually, I think it's the side that I can force a win if it starts there. Because now, yeah, I don't have anything except for this, and so I'm going to do this, and it's going to block, and then do that, and we've got a draw. So the AI is playing well. It's a tie. So let's challenge him to another one. I'll start, and so I'll take the side. And then it should take the center because the center is available. And now now it should be able to block me and then create a fork right there. Oh, it didn't create the fork. Wait. Yeah, that would have been a fork. And then it would have this and this. but now it doesn't have a fork. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, the fork is a probabilistic one. So, yeah, I think it's actually doing the right thing. So if it chooses the if it chooses to create the fork. Oh wow, I didn't even choose the center. I thought the center was no, the center is probabilistic as well. Okay, well then I'll take the center, and now I'm setting up for a fork here, but I have to block before I can do that, and then I have to block. Yeah, so it's doing a decent job of playing. Okay. Yeah, I say that is a successful plan.
Anyway, it's better than its random moves.
Yes. Yes, quite true. Yep. Yep, that's plans. So yeah, check out check out Cursor, practice with that. Yeah, I think that that is going to get you pretty far. If you find that that you need a little extra boost, then we can talk about kilo code. But yeah, that's probably a good next step for you.
Yeah. Good. We're gonna look into that.
Very good. Yeah, and at $20 a month, it's that definitely pays for itself pretty fast.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. All right. Next Thursday, you're there?
Yes, I will be here next Thursday.
I'm also there, so no problem.
Excellent.
Okay, Michael, then thank you very much and see you next Thursday.
Yep, I'll see you then.
Okay, bye-bye.